in the beginning is I have the people creating the trust, we call them the settlers, be the trustees. So in the marriage example, the husband and wife are both going to be trustees. And what that means is they are going to be able to manage all of the money and the assets in the trust. I put language in my trust so that we can put your home into it, your homestead, but we can still get a homestead exemption even though technically you don't own the property, the trust does. So you're still going to be able to get your 65 plus, your homestead exemption, but the trust will own the property. While you're alive and you have capacity, you will manage that. So, you know, you and your wife buy a house, you put it in the trust, you're living in it, and, well, the kids have moved out, let's downsize. You can sell that house, absolutely, and then go buy a new one and put it in the trust name, or keep that one and make rent in the trust name, whatever it is. A trust is an excellent vehicle. It basically is its own entity, the way we consider like a corporation or an LLC an entity where it gets its own EIN. A trust is its own entity. And while you're alive and while you have mental capacity, you can be the trustee. Now, we also use trust a lot in Medicaid and Medicare planning. And that's what we do in that is, in order to qualify for the 5-year look-back period, the trust has to be irrevocable and you cannot be the trustee. So what I tell my clients, and I personally, I had a terrible car accident when I was 24 years old and I sustained a brain injury. And I still went to law school and I'm still okay. I just have to watch TV with subtitles, so it's not terrible. But theoretically, eventually, I'm going to need government health care. It's going to get quite expensive when I'm older with all this metal in my body and so on and so forth, right? So I already know this. So I have a trust. And what I do is just work closely with my doctor. And when my doctor says, hey, Lauren, it's about 5 to 10 years before you're really going to go bad, then I make it irrevocable. Once it's been irrevocable and I'm no longer the trustee, I have someone who's good with money as my trustee. In my situation, it's my little sister. Once that's done for 5 years, then everything that's in that trust is not considered mine. It's considered property of the trust. And now when Medicaid goes to do the look-back period, they're not going to be able to count my house. They're not going to be able to count my IRA account. They're not going to be able to count the rent money I'm receiving on my rental property that's in this irrevocable trust. But the key is to have someone you can really trust. And we have professional trustees. My firm can serve as a trustee. Bank of America offers trustee services. There are professional trustees out there. So if you don't have anyone in your family that you trust and is good with money, you can hire someone who can do that for you. No, not really. I mean, the trust's intention is to own the property and trust, essentially. One of the greatest benefits of the trust is that you avoid probate when you die. And so the program that I'm doing with the city, it is not covering probate. And the reason for that is probate is cost and time prohibitive. Particularly some of the probate courts in Dallas County, they don't move as quickly as some others in the state. So it is really time and cost prohibitive in Dallas County. So we've had to exclude probate work. I try when I'm doing estate planning to help my clients avoid probate as much as possible, simply because I don't like the idea of the government being in charge of me in any capacity. Okay, so a trust, it does that. It completely avoids that. As long as all of your property is in that trust, then you don't need a probate when you pass away. Your trustee will distribute according to the language of the trust. So I usually tell people we're going to make it irrevocable for Medicaid planning if necessary. We're going to make it irrevocable when one of the spouses dies. But otherwise, it can be revocable. It's still going to avoid probate because it is this standalone mechanism, and the instructions of what to do with all of the stuff in it after that person dies are in the document. They're in the trust. So you don't necessarily need to have the intervention of the government or the court system. And to me, that is my preference. And Well, in an ideal world, yes. And I'll go a little further. I tell people at my seminars, trusts are the only mechanism in which you can control from the grave. So I have a lot of people like, I want to give my house to my daughter if she does this, 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 and this. And I get that. I understand that, right? So if you want to control from the grave, you must have a trust. Full stop. If you're in a blended family, you need a trust. Okay, so that leaves like 8 people in the entire city who wouldn't need a trust, maybe. And I like to tell people, like, because you can control from the grave, you're using what rich people use. So my goal is to bring the tools of the rich to the normal and the regular, okay? And this trust is exactly that, right? So the trust allows a regular human like you and me to do what the really rich people are doing. And it allows you to do, okay, you could put things in there like, if my granddaughter doesn't go to UT Austin and maintain a 2.0 in microbiology, she gets nothing. You can do that stuff in a trust. You can't do that anywhere else. No, they are different. So the trust, like I said, is its own entity. It's going to get its own EIN. It's a thing all on its own. It's almost like a family corporation in a way you could think of it. A will is just a document that goes to a judge after you die that says, hey, judge, this is how I want my stuff distributed, and this is the person I want to do that distribution. Oh, that's in movies and not in real life. I've never read a will out loud to anyone, and I don't think I ever will. So, not in Texas. Not in Texas. Maybe the Yankees do back north, out east, but I don't know. Not here in Texas, no.